Welcome to the FCICA product webinar series. Thank you for joining us for Direct Digital Print and Accessories Upgrade. We are pleased to have Bill Treiber, the Technical Sales and Educational Manager for Artistic Finishes. Bill is the Technical Sales and Education Manager for Artistic Finishes, formerly known as Moldings Online. He began his career in the lumber industry and built a strong sales record in wood flooring distribution for over 15 years before joining Artistic Finishes in 2009. His experience and in-depth knowledge is used to assist Artistic Finishes customers with all their questions relating to the flooring industry. Look for Bill on all of the technical data material, as well as trade magazine articles and association webinars. Welcome, Bill. We are excited to have you. I'm going to turn the controls over to you.
Good morning. I am I'm very pleased to be able to be talking today with a group of individuals that are hopefully excited to learn and open to new technologies. Artistic Finishes now, I would say probably close to 3 years ago, began this endeavor, which we really owe to our owner, Denny Leach, the interest in a better product. We're always trying to upgrade the quality of the products that we produce. And it was probably about 6 years ago that we initiated our WPC profiles, and the profiles themselves started with as few as just 5 in a very small range of thicknesses that at that time were looking at initially, focusing on the what was termed the waterproof vinyls, the WPCs of the world. And of course, the rest is history. The number of products, the number of sizes, patterns, colors, what have you, has never ceased to stop growing. And with that, we decided that from our wood veneer finish, where we have more of just a coordinated and or complementary look, we wanted to be able to be closer to the actual look of the floors. And searching deeply, we came up with a company that we felt we could work with our digital printing capacity, and the challenges have been mastered to the point now where we feel we've got and have been producing product for that. But before we get to that, I would like to digress just a little bit about the history of digital print, the areas of use. The printing industry is it's an over $800 billion industry in size, and it's thriving. And people think, well, newspapers, books. I've got an iPad. What do I need print for? But we fail to realize that packaging, for example, is over a $300 billion industry in and of itself. And that certainly is not going away. In fact, it's growing leaps and bounds. The digital print area is only going to continue to grow. And we, being, I believe, the first to take it to the accessories side of our industry and the flooring industry, will kind of explore, what really does it, how has it come to be, knowing your colors and how light affects it, and then to show you some of the applications that we have created. Certainly we'll get to that in some of the additional questions that may come from this. Now, a little bit of reading in the beginning, digital printing and other printing technologies have really come from its early beginnings. A fellow by the name Graham Nash, from, I'm sure many of you remember and still maybe even enjoy Crosby's, Nash, Young, and Stills. Graham had an idea that he could take his photography, and by manipulating his Macintosh computer, could create photos and pictures that were never seen before in such bright color and individual detail. He did this, and he made a $126,000 investment into a digital photography piece of equipment, which he later fully recouped with his amazement, at art exhibits and displays of his critically acclaimed photos, which, of course, we know music artists have the ability to travel around the world. That was a form of the beginning, just back in the 80s. Digital printing is a method of printing from a digitally based image directly to a variety of media. We will discuss the media. It usually refers to professional printing, where you have small jobs for, individual, rather than large paper rolls or product rolls. This, is a very unique form of printing that allows you to do more than just the large, high volume projects, but certainly that is capable. The digital printing has a higher cost per page or per product than more traditional offset printings, but the price is usually offset by avoiding all the costs or many of the costs involved with the technical setups, feeding of product and such, which is required through printing plates. And it allows for also on-demand, available, and short-time turnaround times, because you can print immediately and have the product available directly from the individual printers. The digital printing technology history developed over time to get us where we are today. The publishing tool, the desktop, laptops, fine art devices, industrial press proof printing were used to create what we need. The process of the evolution came as follows. First, the requirement of one-off reproduction and short runs by hands, and then low-quality mimeographs and stenciling, and last, inline printing, magnetic tape, digital or punch card storage of the text were used. The fellow that really took the industry to where it is today, Benny Landa, an entrepreneur of original Polish descent. His parents actually fled during World War II to Canada before he moved from Canada down to the United States. His ePrint 1000 digital press, which was a 25-year project, creating the ability to, do variable data prints and short runs, has really evolutionized the industry. And it didn't take much time for it to emerge as the top choice for this purpose. His company, which he sold for well over $200 million a number of years ago, is now basically a division within Hewlett-Packard. And Benny is still with us. I would encourage you to listen to the man. He's quite a bit of a genius and as a scientist in now working heavily into nanotechnology in his later years. Some of the major differences with digital printing, its predecessors, lithograph printing. This process was based on the fact that grease and water don't mix. The image was applied to a grain surface, typically like stone or aluminum, many times on a wheel, and such a special greasy ink, they called it a touche, or like a crayon, pencils, lacquer, synthetic materials, all were things that, and or still to some degree in certain industries, are used in lithograph printing. Gravure printing is used, widely used in the processing method used to print large volumes of magazines and catalogs, still used today. Letterpress printing is a process of relief print text and image used to a high bed, high type surface press, and it's removable. Those were used way back in the early days of newspaper print. Flexograph is a roll feed web printing process for high volumes. It's also newer, if you can say the 50s and 60s is newer for high volumes of print. Digital print, its history direct to garment was the initial big industry that took direct digital printing into the United States. As recent as 1996, the introduction of the first commercially available direct-to-garment printers, named the Revolution, was developed by DIS of Bradenton, Florida, and based on an invention by Matthew Rahm. And Rahm had been working on that project for some years and applied for the patent in July of 1996. And you'll find in the printing world, just about everything is patent. A lot of patents, a lot of money goes with those. So, pure definition, it's a method of printing an image directly transferred from a printer onto a film, making this process highly flexible, environmentally friendly, and offering high quality printing. When saying a printing image, we refer to vinyl, PVCs, papers, and in 2018, we began researching and developing our DDP printing process on curved profiles. Use of the IsoSport, low process time, the high flexibility, and thus high suitably for very small numbers of batches, an individual stick or piece, for example, a profile, a stair nose. Soon to be discussed will be treads and risers. Thus, no storage required, low purchase costs for the necessary equipment, very high image resolution. We're looking at close to 600 PSIs, and number of parts in a square inch, and decibels per square inch, excuse me. Very low cost, thanks to low inking. And the inks that we use, of course, they have to be UV cured, and so we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that further down the road. When we talk about printing and anything in terms of our products with the direct digital print, we have to know our colors. CMYK model, it is commonly used. It works by partially or entirely masking colors on a lighter, in our case, totally white background. The ink, it reduces the light that would otherwise be reflected. We'll explain all that here, try to get a better understanding of color and how we perceive it. Such a model is called a subtractive method because we subtract the colors red, green, and blue from white light. The white light minus red leaves cyan. White light minus green leaves magenta. And white light minus blue leaves yellow. We'll take a closer look at all of that. The processes we have for the four colors in common known, cyan is the C, M the magenta, Y the yellow, and B for black. The DPI, the dots per square inch, as I mentioned, up to 600 DPSI, currently printed for our specifications. And we'll take a closer look at each individual color. Cyan, greenish blue, it's evolved and by a light with a predominant wavelength of between 409 to 520 nanominute. Between the wavelengths of green and blue in the subtractive color system. There's added color systems, okay? In the added color systems, you have what's used to create all the colors on a computer or television display. Cyan is made by mixing equal amounts of green and blue. Cyan is a complement of red. It can be made by the removal of red from a white light, which we use the subtractive color system. Other medias use the additive color system. Here you can see the difference where you have the additive versus subtractive. On an RGB color wheel, the magenta is the color between rose and violet and halfway between red and blue. And the color magenta, X11 and fuchsia in an HTML. The RGB color model, it is created by combining equal intensities of red and blue light. So what it's showing here is basically your primary colors that are used in a subtractive method for direct digital print. Those four colors can create endless variety and shade of different colors. In our world, we deal with a lot of gray. Of course, you know, with the popularity of the grays, we joke about 50 grades of shade. I think we're dealing with over 400 grades of shade. Yellow is a subtractive. In the yellow portion there, you can see the colors that yellow affects. You know, they're all interrelated. Black in a subtractive system is a combination of all the primary remaining colors. Now, one of the things that come into play with our eye's ability to perceive color is the light. Light is a measurement that is measured in kelvins. For example, a daylight is typically around 5,000 Kelvin, a very bright day. Cool white ranges between 3,100 to 4,500, and warm light is generally in the 2,000 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin range. That would be in your home, residential, some office settings. Depending on where you are and the type and or quality of light, the DDP will look slightly different. Okay? Our product will gear to work best with white warm light. We have found that residential lighting is predominantly in the white warm light. And of course, natural light does come into play as well. And other light sources will be used with minimal color change, as we will kind of see here. So your high range, in the 40, 100, can appear cool. The light rays are the only visible rays to the naked eye. So as you see the cylinder, the roof close in on that ultraviolet to infrared range, this is where we draw our color from, because that's what the eye can see. And as you change the light, it will affect the colors that you do see. Obviously, without light at night, black becomes increasingly more common. Darkness. Certain colors will fade from your visual ability to see color. As the light goes down at the end of the day, you begin to see things in black and white or shades of gray. And as it becomes brighter throughout the day, you begin to see more and more color. This is basically saying that the amount of energy in the light will affect the colors that are visible to the naked eye. When this happens and you change the light, a phenomenon called metamerism occurs. And it basically is two colors appear to match under one lighting condition, but not when the light will change. Well, what are we talking about? Metamerism. Matching, these are quite common, especially in near neutral colors like grays, whites, and dark colors. Metamerism is a perceived matching of colors with different non-matching spectral power distributions. Now, don't be misled by a power distribution. A spectral power distribution was what I showed a couple of back here. This would be a full spectrum of power distribution of color. The colors that match this way are called metamers. A special power distribution describes the proportion of the total light given off, emitted, transmitted, or reflected by a color sample at each visible wavelength, because that is determined in part by the light, largely by the light given off. It defines the complete information of the light coming from the sample. Here's a good example. On the left, you have bright, light, cool, white, and on the right, you have a soft, warm light. Both balls appear to be orange on the left, but the soft white changes the look of the balls, making them darker. Plus, the box that was used here, being a ultraviolet seeking material on the walls, illuminates the walls to appear to have an orange pastel. This different light source creates different results, and this is all in consistency with what we refer to as metamerism. I think the one section here that shows clearly, as you have a north sky daylight, you see generally almost all of the colors fairly consistently. If you have a tungsten bulb, you're going to see more of the yellows and the reds and the oranges than you will the blues. If you have a fluorescent light, the blues and the greens are the predominant colors that will be seen. It diminishes your ability to see the red in a product, a surface color. Okay, so things look different under different illuminants. or light sources. The human eye basically has 3 color receptors. That's it. Which means that all colors are reduced to 3 sensory qualities. And these 3 are cumulatively called tristimulus values. The tristimulus values work with why metamerism occurs, because each type of cone responds to the cumulative energy from a broad range of wavelengths. And so that these different combinations of light across all the wavelengths, which your eye creates through the tristimulus value, can produce an equivalent receptor response. And the same tristimulus values, or color sensations. In color science, the set of sensory spectral sensitivity curves as numerically represented by color matching functions. Simply spoken, your eyes perceive color based on the amount of light and the type of light that they are being exposed to, or is present in the room, for example, that you're in. As mentioned earlier, the common ranges of light, 1,000 to 3,500, would appear warm. Mid-range, 3,500 to 4,100, kind of balanced. Where do we see that? Cloudy days. A lot of your soft, warm lights. Okay? And when you get above 4,100, you're going to be seeing bright white lights, fluorescent lights, mercury vapor lights, lights that are going to limit the amount of color that's going to be seen in a room, or the type of color that's going to be seen in the room, because it affects the visibility of your full light spectrum, the rainbow, which you have available through your 3 color receptors. In the industry, the flooring industry, Forbo, some of you may be buying it, some of you may have installed it, some of you may be aware of them. They're using an example here with large format direct digital print, where they can design floors on large pattern. Here's the moons and the planets in a floor, in a commercial setting. So the sky is the limit. There really is no limit to what can be done with creativity and funky design. If a picture can be taken, we can take those pictures and we can interpret that onto a media, say vinyl, film, wrap, which can be textured and create a city map. The perfect finish is what we've always been after. We feel we're getting very, very close. Our Enduracor digital print technology is now a part of Artistic Finishes WPC profiles. And although the DDP has been printed on metals in the past and fabrics, the garment industry, I noted, one of the first to really exploit it. And of course, glass, never has it been created on vinyl wrap flooring moldings. Flooring, yes, but not curved surfaces until now. Stair nosing, T-molds, reducers, square nosing, wall base, quarter round, and soon treads and risers. In this picture, you can see down in the bottom corner the location of the profile, which came from a white profile located over here, down with the floor next to it, that really you can't tell which is which. That's our goal, to be able to aesthetically have the best looking product, water resistant, UV protected, highly effective, and cost-effective in the flooring industry. With that, we show some of the profiles that are now being made in direct digital print. Our patented line of Enduracor profiles now include the minis, the 2.5 to 5.5 millimeter, showing designs in square-edged of different radiuses in a stair nosing, in flush profiles, as well as full radius round, quarter round, adjustable stair nosings, which can be creating a flush stair nose for treads, for example, wall base, T-molds, square nosing, some refer to it as end cap, overlapping stair nose, and of course reducers, also primarily overlapping. This was our initial segment of profiles for flooring thickness in the 6 to 10, created a little over 2 years ago. We started with the square nose, the stair nose, the T-molds, reducer, overlapping. We've added the flush in the 288 profile, and of course the adjustable again. Now when we get into this, you will start to begin to see track being used, where the receiver portion is an option. We don't require it, nor is it required. It's not usable in a flush. In either of the flush stair noses, it's not an option. Enduracor profiles in the 10 to 15 have grown as the resurgence, if you will, of the laminate industry, being competitive with the multi-layers of vinyl, the SPCs, the rigid vinyl cores, the WPCs, what have you, the LVTs, the vinyls themselves are so strong that the laminate industry has started to introduce, acrylic impregnations and different composite material that also is waterproof. And with that, the 1/2 inch or 12.7 millimeter thicknesses have grown, whereby these can accommodate that thickness range as well in the waterproof laminate category. Here's an example of an acacia, this being the T-mold. Here is the floor, this being an LVP. I believe, not for sure which manufacturer that is, but you can see there how close it becomes once we start to initiate our direct digital print processing. Currently, we are making product for select customers, and that is growing on a weekly basis. And so if you have a business or a line of product that you have interest in, we'd be more than happy to entertain the opportunity to discuss getting your products involved. The profiles, we continue to add. 273 was shown earlier. It's a mini in the 2.5, actually up to 6 millimeter thick range. The 283 and 294 cover the other thicknesses in this range. But this is a great overlapping stair nose for the very, very small floors that are available now in the multi-layer flooring segment. 340 is now going to be used. Here you will see it by, we're saying the second quarter, if not sooner, to select pilot customers in the industry with the profile 490, which is shown here below, as a part of a tread and riser format, and that will be discussed more into the future. But we're excited. It is a project that we have been researching and developing for close to 2 years. Always keep in mind that with today's profiles, the introduction of the modified silanes has really created a golden opportunity for products that you do not want to affect the finish with nails or staples, use of guns. This is all eliminated when you start to look at the opportunity with the advancement of adhesives. Modified silanes, they have a very high green grab. They will bond to steel, metal, concrete, whether it's been cured or not, any of the wood composites, drywalls, gypsums, what have you. And they certainly have advanced and changed the industry, creating new methods of installation for our installers to seriously, increase their quality as well as increase or decrease their time involved with the installation of these accessories. With that, I do want to just, talk briefly about it, recognizing that this direct digital printing is only 24 years in man's history. Today, technologies are advancing at unbelievable speeds. The polymer electronics industries, these technologies are going to provide lasting changes. Nanotechnology, some of the changes that are happening as we speak are phenomenal and will only continue to get better. Digital print, it remains a mechanical process. Ink, right, is used as a base for printing, but with a computer. And, it only goes to show you that the combination of one technology creates the advancement of several other technologies. And in this case, printing has certainly been a beneficiary. Now used in the flooring industry by us, artistic finishes will continue to develop and add. Less than 2 years ago, one printer, now working with 5 printers. I can't tell you where we'll be in another 2 years, but the future is exciting. We're going to continue to use what we refer to as the CMYB subtractive process with the white background. It gives us the most flexibility and the best results. It has the widest tolerances for the different lighting as we get from from residential to commercial application. There can be adaptations with the different lights for the different industries and settings, assuming that it can be done on a big enough scale where we see that it can be profitable for both parties. We're really wanting, our goal is to satisfy the end user, and so that the experience, it becomes flawless, if you will, in terms of aesthetics, function, usability, longevity, and from that standpoint, we're excited. And we hope that our end users are the real beneficiaries of the technologies that we have the joy of presenting and trying to create for many, many years to come. Because if you're like most of us, once you get in the flooring industry, it's hard to get out, and it's going to be exciting to see what the future has to offer. With that, I will entertain any questions that might come about, and I'll take the screen back to questions.
Thank you so much, Bill. If the audience has any questions or comments, please submit them now in the question box on the left of your screen. We'll wait a moment or two for people to enter in their questions.
Christine, would you like me to do a seed question?
You know what? I'll read that out now. So,
okay. All righty.
Yep. We've got the question here, and that is, what type of ink or toner does Artistic Finishes use for their digital printers?
Well, that's a very good question. There is no longer toner being used. No toner powders. When you think of a toner, you go to your printer, your copy machine, for example, and you think of a toner. In direct digital print, there is no toners. We're using ink. That ink it's a UV inks, so that once the ink is applied to the media, in this case vinyl wrap, okay, PVC wrap primarily, it is immediately cured at the time of application, about 98%. Over the next 24 hours, the remaining 2% of that ink will be cured. So the answer to that question is UV inks. Does that help you?
Okay. Next question. What type of finish is used for the final top coat?
Artistic Finishes is always developing and advancing its finishes. We have used proprietary finishes. We do get a lot of people asking us what our finishes are made up of. We've used everything from the terms aluminum oxide to acrylics. We have a proprietary finish that uses different degrees of oxides, and they're basically polyurethane, UV curing polyurethanes by base, and we focus on lower VOC, the volatile organic compounds, to be able to stay current with the rest of the industry. We look to maximize our Treiber test results through abrasion, utilization of the ASTM's D4060 is our source for our test that we use, and we're confident that we will only get better and only get more durable, but UV cured polyurethanes to a proprietary blend is basically the answer to that.
Okay, next question is, are there any new colors being added to your bank of products?
Well, that is a daily occurrence. We actually have people now that's all they are doing is downloading colors into our computers, our data banks, and then of course we have to be able to create that onto a media, a film paper that we can use to establish a library book, if you will. That is being done not fast enough by my estimation, but we have gotten about 200 times faster than we were a year ago, just to show you that this is really, the future, because we know that the list is long already. We have a number of customers that are already on our list for our direct digitally printed profiles, and the waiting list is getting longer. But we are, at the same token, taking care of customers that we just got on our list as little as 2 to 5 months ago, where a year ago I would say, you're going to be waiting for us to be able to produce these colors for your floors, maybe in a year. Well, now we're talking months and maybe even a month. So we're getting faster, Christine, but it is an ongoing working process that we are aware the demand is far greater than our capabilities are today, but we're getting faster. And so the patience is paying off for those that are lining up, and we're grateful. We want to be able to help everybody immediately with this process, but do keep in mind that our profiles are still readily available through our wood veneers. And for 90% of our customers that are experiencing those profiles with great satisfaction, they just don't have the capability to be able to be, what we would refer to as more of our custom blend, a spot-on image of the floor as our digital direct print does. I hope that helps a little bit.
Okay, so audience members, if there are no other questions, Bill, we haven't received any other questions. So on behalf of FCICA, thank you, Bill, for presenting today's webinar. And
well, thank you.
Sims, you may now navigate to the Submit Credit tab to receive credit. Please note that you must be signed into the education platform for this feature to work. If you have any issues, please let us know. So again, thank you so much, Bill. And this is the conclusion of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you as well. Thanks to all of you for attending.